This documentary explores privacy versus protection with respect to the NSA's metadata collection program. As U.S. citizens, we have the right to certain privacies under the Fourth Amendment. A summary of the Fourth Amendment is that unnecessary searches and seizures are not allowed. Yet, the preamble of the U.S. Constitution lays out the government's responsibility to protect, to defend, and to promote general welfare. With ever-changing technology, it has become extremely controversial whether the NSA is violating privacy and civil liberties such as freedom of speech unnecessarily in the name of carrying out its fundamental responsibility. Their responsibility is to protect us. The National Security Agency, or the NSA, was established in 1952. The NSA was formally established by President Harry Truman in a memorandum of October 24, 1952. Because his memo was classified, or a secret, the NSA's existence was not known to the public. This was during the Korean War, when Truman saw the need to continue U.S. code-breaking activity that helped the U.S. to detect Germany and Japan back in World War II. In October 2001, President George W. Bush signed an order to begin the NSA's domestic spying program as a response to 9/11. One responsibility of the NSA is to collect and process intelligence information from foreign signals in order to support the military and thereby protect its U.S. citizens. After 9/11, the Patriot Act was passed. This is when the government had increased challenge in its responsibility to protect its citizens and their freedoms. 2,977 people were killed on U.S. soil, making this the worst terrorist attack in U.S. history. Enemies such as Osama bin Laden and the 9/11 hijackers have special technology on their side. So, our government has had to adopt new techniques of gathering intelligence by collecting communication data. The metadata collection program does not collect the content of the call or text, but many Americans don't realize that. Many are worried that the government is spying on them, especially after Edward Snowden, a former NSA contractor working for Booz Allen Hamilton, disclosed details of the NSA surveillance programs, including the metadata collection program. A survey after the leak shows the majority of Americans still prioritize protection from terrorist threat over privacy of their phone and text activity. It's difficult to know how many terrorist plots have been stopped with this information, and therefore, people are very conflicted over giving up some feeling of privacy for confidence of being protected from a terrorist threat. In order to get another perspective on this topic, I interviewed an attorney who is interested in constitutional law. I asked him, with respect to the NSA's metadata collection program, as a lawyer and an ethicist, do you believe the right balance has been struck between the citizens' privacy rights and the government's responsibility to protect us?
That's an interesting question. Let's start by examining the Constitution itself. As you know, the Constitution has 27 different amendments, and the first 10 of which are the so-called Bill of Rights, and several of these are pertinent to your question. First is the Fourth Amendment, which protects us against unlawful searches from the government. And that, of course, plays an important part of this entire question. But your question also asked about privacy rights. And that's interesting because the Constitution doesn't specifically give us a right of privacy, although the U.S. Supreme Court has actually found us to have a right of privacy. kind of within the other Bill of Rights. Several early cases have established this. Now, you have to balance this against other responsibilities. For example, the preamble of the Constitution states that the government has to provide us, is there to provide us with a common defense and peace within our communities, if you will. And that's what the issue boils down to. Now, our rights, including our privacy rights, aren't absolute. For example, freedom of speech, the First Amendment, doesn't give you the right to yell fire in a crowded movie theater in which people may be injured. It doesn't give you the right to falsely accuse someone of a crime, which would then injure that particular person. So in this case, the courts are balancing this right of privacy that we've discussed with the right or their responsibility to protect us. And this is where it boils down to. Now, recently, this same issue has come up in the federal courts. And with the information you've given me of just monitoring the data but without actually listening to what we're saying, the courts have found this to be legal. And I strongly suspect that upon appeal, if it is appeal, the higher courts, the appeals court and the U.S. Supreme Court, would also uphold the current practice. Now, it often turns out the government is doing things that they really haven't told us they're doing. And if you turn out that they're actually listening in on our telephone conversations or actually reading all of our email communications, then I think that clearly would be a violation of our constitutional rights and I think would be found illegal.
The court system has upheld the metadata program as being legal, although President Obama is calling for some changes. One large change will be for the NSA to pursue numbers that are only 2 steps away from a known terrorist, rather than the current 3 steps away policy. Here is a diagram representing 3 steps away from a terrorist number. So I heard my friend Alfia from preschool is in town. I'm going to give her a call. Stop! Totally forgot that she lives in Pakistan. I think the NSA is spying on me. Okay, this means that they can read my texts, they can read my emails, they can hear my calls when I talk to my friends and family. This is not good. I'm gonna hide. Don't be afraid. The NSA is totally not spying on you. Really? The metadata collection program can't see the content of your text or call. They can only see how long you were on the phone for, the numbers calling or texting each other, and how many times you contacted that person. They can only pursue further information by court order or if your call is 3 steps away from a terrorist. Yay! To get the perspective of some of the students in my class of this controversial subject, I created my own poll. I gave them a brief description of the metadata program, and I asked if they were in favor of it. 50% of them said yes, and 50% said no. This isn't surprising, because this issue of privacy versus protection is very controversial. Will Americans feel more confident that their civil rights are being upheld, or will they feel that the government is less able to fulfill its responsibility to protect them? The jury is still out.